Ben Crump, who is representing the Blake family, joins me now. Mr. Crump, thank you so much for joining us. And as I said, the Wisconsin DOJ also investigating. What legal resolution are you hoping for from each of those investigations? And tell us what's happening with the Jacob Blake case this week.
Thank you for having me, Arthel. The family is asking what anybody would ask for. They want accountability. They want justice. You see from the video that Jacob Blake Jr. posed no threat to the officers as he's moving away from them, trying to get in his vehicle and get his 3 little boys out of a volatile situation when the police grab his T-shirt and shoots him 7 times, point blank range in the back, paralyzing him with his 8-year-old, his 5-year-old, and his 3-year-old sons all watching this happen to their father. And so from that moment to this one, his family has been praying for his health and recovery, that he would just survive such an excessive, brutal use of force. And then hoping that there will be accountability, because there seems to be an epidemic with Black people who have not put anybody in harm's way, but yet they continue to be killed, which is directly opposite from the young white man who killed 2 people and nobody shot him in the back, nobody killed him. He was taken uninjured.
You're talking about Kyle Rittenhouse in a separate situation there in Portland. Let's talk about this now. Listen, Ben Crump, I had you on here because I want you to help me walk us through what's happening in the legal aspect of the case. I don't have the police side, so of course the police they would have a different side. I just have to get that on record. I want to go back to Blake, but I want to go to Breonna Taylor right now because you're also working with her family as well. She was killed almost 6 months ago. One officer has been fired. The other 2 officers involved have been placed on administrative reassignment. Are you expecting any forward movement on this case this week? I'm trying to find out what's happening. Everything seems to be kind of stuck.
Breonna Taylor's case is one of the most heartbreaking cases you could ever imagine. Your child in their apartment, sleep in their bed at 1 a.m., the police announced, use a battering ram and bust open the front door, and they don't know what's going on. They think it's a burglary. And she is killed. Her body is mutilated with 8 bullets by the people who are supposed to protect and serve them. Attorney General Daniel Cameron of Kentucky has taken over the investigation. 6 months have passed now. They were waiting on the ballistics report from the FBI. They have that. We expect that they should be bringing charges any day now, but it continues to be a delay. And we worry justice delayed is justice denied, because they never intended on holding these officers accountable until we started saying Breonna Taylor life matters, Black women lives matter. The police report that they released 3 months ago was 3 pages, and it said that there were no injuries and there was no forced entry. Well, we know both of those are mistruths, because they busted open her door and Breonna was killed. Well, how could you say no injuries?
Yeah, and the police said they were on a no-knock warrant, which means they get to ram on the door, say police, and then game on. There's a dispute as to what happened that night. Again, I have you here, so I want to talk about what you and I can talk about. So apparently, reportedly that night, police were looking for Jamarcus Glover, the night of Miss Taylor's unfortunate death. An ex-boyfriend, a convicted felon with a history of drug trafficking. According to the court documents that has been reported, Glover has since been offered a plea deal, a sentence shorter than the 10 years he could face in prison if he names Breonna Taylor as a co-defendant in Glover's gang. He said, no, I'm not going to do that because that's not true. Meanwhile, you mentioned before Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron, who tweeted this yesterday regarding this case and Ms. Taylor. He said, He said, yeah, today, while we honor a Kentucky tradition with the running of the Derby, we remain cognizant of the community's desire for answers in the investigation into the death of Miss Breonna Taylor. We continue to move forward with our investigation, reviewing each fact to reach the truth. So, Ben, do you have confidence that the Kentucky AG will prosecute this case fairly?
Well, Breonna Taylor's family is very suspicious of any law enforcement authority right now, because from day one, her mother and little sister called the police department every day for almost 2 months before we got involved, saying, can you tell us answers why you killed my child in her own apartment? And they kept being brushed aside over and over again. So until there are charges brought, the family has no faith whatsoever that anything is going to be done. And that's why we continue to say her name.
And I know you continue working on the case to try to not only say her name, Breonna Taylor, but you want to get justice for her. I want to flip back now over to the Jacob Blake Jr.'s case. From his hospital, we played some sound from him earlier from his hospital bed on Friday. Something else Jacob Blake Jr. said from his hospital bed that day. He says, quote, please, I'm telling you, change your lives. Stick together, make some money, make everything easier for our people out there, man, because there's so much time that's been wasted. So, Ben, who do you think Jacob is talking to?
Well, he obviously was an emotional statement. And Jacob is a good young man. There are all these rumors and false information out there about Jacob Blake Jr. Jacob Blake Jr. has never, ever been convicted of a crime in his life.
No, he hasn't been convicted, Ben, but I have to say that according to reports, he was wanted on sexual assault and domestic abuse charges stemming from an incident in July, which doesn't justify what happened 2 weeks ago. Go ahead.
Let me speak to this. He's never been convicted of a crime in his life. We are confident that he will be found not guilty of these latest allegations if they are even brought to the courtroom once everything comes out. But what we do know is what happened on that video was unjustified. And there seems to always be an occasion when Black people are shot or killed by police to try to assassinate their character, to justify the unjustifiable actions of law enforcement. We have to say that we cannot continue to demonize people of color after we kill them or injure them. We have to say we have equal justice in America, and we have to treat Black citizens like we treat white citizens. There can't be two justice systems in America. There has to be equal justice for all citizens in America.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, and I certainly was not trying to marry the two because they're two separate, whatever the allegations are. They're definitely separate. I understand what you're saying. I just had to put that on record because you said that, that he's never done anything in his life, and perhaps he is innocent. But again, I hear you, Ben Crump. That does not justify what happened 2 weeks ago. I completely understand that. Listen, I would love to have you back. I want to know what's happening with this case, both the Jacob Blake case and Breonna Taylor. So if you would come back and keep us posted, Ben Crump, would you?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Thank you.